Okay, that was Elton, and in fact that film clip is Elton playing live, and I just know that Elton will be seen back on the stage, and I heard some of the stuff that he has done in the American studios in Philadelphia under the producer Tom Bell, with the Spinners backing him and everything like that, and it's great material, so I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of Elton in the middle of 1978. Now, we go back to Los Angeles to meet Rod Stewart, and this was a quite funny... Oh, no, it was actually... Yes, it was. No, it was in New York. Oh, yeah, New York, right. I mean, I got so confused in America, it was ridiculous. But this particular interview was done the night after his performance at Madison Square Gardens and the giant party he threw, which went on until 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, myself and my producer, Grant, staggered to Rod's hotel around about 1:30 with a film crew that cost around about, cost a lot of money, I assure you. And we waited around for an hour and a half with all the press there for Rod to make an entrance, and still no Rod. 2 hours later, Rod finally appeared. He had just got up from bed, unshaven, his hair all over the place, and he wanted to know, first of all, what the cameras were doing there, and said there was no way. And then they said, one of the publicists, Tony Tune, said, Molly wants to do an interview, and he told me to get my body across. Sat down, did the interview, and it was a very funny interview, and then got up and walked out. So here it is, the Rod Stewart interview from New York.
Now, with a track like You Keep Me Hanging On, which
yes.
is just the list of the tracks. It's just the list of the tracks.
He's an amateur. He hasn't been at it very long. I've come from warm sheets to do this interview, you know that, don't you?
I realise that, yes, and you've come up well after the party last night.
4 hours sleep.
Pardon, how many hours sleep?
About 4.
You went to bed at 7, it's now 5.
7. Well, it took me 5 hours to get ready.
I see. The band itself, over the last 8 months, have become not only tight, I mean, they're one of the... It's 20% improvement, and I never thought it could be improved. You must be really happy with the band.
Yeah, it's probably come about because we've made an album together.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you record in the studio and you realise that perhaps you weren't as tight as you should have been. And plus the fact it's 8 months later, you know. But they are tight. They haven't bought me a drink for months.
They're very much part of you, and you're very much part of them all. That's the impression I got last night.
Yeah, I think they brought out probably the best in me.
Yeah.
The best that there is, not only on stage, but certainly on the record. I mean, I think there's a marked difference, not only in the choice of material and the lyrics, but even the sound quality of the record, I think. But that's down to Andy Johns. I think we had the best engineer in the world with Andy Johns.
Well, I was reading the review in one of the papers, the New York papers, after your first concert at Madison Square, and they were saying how you were able to retain rock and roll, even though you had lived in Los Angeles for 2 years. Did Hollywood or Los Angeles or any of that have any great effect on you, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I could have written half the songs on that album if I'd have stayed in London, lived in London. I think I needed a change of environment. And I believe Los Angeles is the capital of rock and roll.
With the time you'd spent in Los Angeles, especially last year, that perhaps you were being swept away with the tinsel? Well, you must have read that,
I
though.
don't really even live there that much. I'm probably there 3 months out of the year.
But had you read those sort of things in the papers?
And who believes anything you read in the papers anyway?
Yeah.
It's all rubbish.
Back to the album again. You've Got a Nerve. What's that song all about?
Well, that's got nothing to do with Brit whatsoever.
No.
I mean, it's just about somebody that's been left in the lurch by a woman, and she runs off with a rich friend and then comes back and expects to be welcomed back, and she's not. And that's the end of it. It's that simple. There's nothing more you can read into that one.
OK, You Keep Me Hanging On. When you performed in Australia, and you just sort of rehearsed the band before that and got together with the band, that track was one that you featured on the Australian concert. On the show last night, and especially on the album, that track really works now, whereas I was sort of, and a lot of other people thought that, why is Rod doing You Keep Me Hanging On, you know? But last night it's sensational.
Yeah, well, we've embroidered on it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole that John plays that classical introduction, and then there's that segue which links it up to the next number.
Right.
I think we've just done it a bit more than the Fudge did it.
Yeah.
Which we had to do, otherwise there's no point in recording it. But I think it now belongs to me, that song. It doesn't belong to Diana Ross anymore.
Yeah, well, Hot Legs.
Yeah.
Was that a purpose?
Main interest in life.
Right. Was that a purposeful thing of going back to real rock and roll of the Rod Stewart we knew a long time ago?
Well, I don't really think I've ever made good rock and roll. On all the albums, I think 9 albums I've made, solo albums, I don't think I've ever made good rock and roll. What I call good rock and roll anyway. This is as near as I've ever come.
I was interviewing Carol Bayer-Sager, and we were talking about her being a songwriter.
She's not a bad-looking girl, is she?
She's fantastic. In fact, one of the most stunning. And I was talking about her songwriting and saying, you know, that obviously with her lyrics, they're so personal.
I Was Only Joking is probably one of the best set of lyrics.
Well, I was going to say, I Was Only Joking, which is actually the last track on side 2, is quite a cutting one, actually.
Yeah. And You're in My Heart, which is, you can either say is about football or about women.
Yeah.
I leave it up to the listeners to decide that.
I didn't know what day it was when you walked into the room. I said hello unnoticed. You said goodbye too soon.